Welcome back everyone, and today I want to talk about the decision by the UK government to give the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. And I want to show you a clip on GB News of a gentleman that makes some rather interesting, not say accusations, but definitely observations regarding Keir Starmer, real reason for possibly doing this, and what future plans under this government may look like. Please take a look at this clip.
The Prime Minister is actually the legal advisor on Chagos being given to Mauritius. Where does this end?
We're not suggesting, are we, that the whole thing is a crooked deal?
Well, look at it this way. The questions that this poses is not just about the Chagos. It also now raises huge questions on what Starmer is likely to give away to the EU in his bid to reset, supposedly, relations with the EU.
Or such as, what, Gibraltar?
Well, Gibraltar
there's no... Because, I mean, self-determination is a key aspect of this, and he couldn't go against that with Gibraltar.
Well, look at it this way. So the Chagos Islands have been given away without any parliamentary scrutiny. There's been no debate in Parliament, and there's been, crucially, no input of voices of actual Chagosians in what they wanted or didn't want. So this precedent has been set. Starmer is very keen to have this freedom of movement for under-30s with the EU. The question is, what is the EU going to demand in return? Is it a further handover of sovereignty over Northern Ireland? Is it Gibraltar for the Spanish? These are questions that need answering, but we cannot trust, I think, Labour with getting those answers.
There's also global security.
Some very good points brought up by the guest on GB News there. And the first one is that the legal advisor who made this deal happen was friends, very good friends, it's claimed, with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. And I'm sure the legal advisor made plenty of money. And should that have been a conflict of interest? Does Keir Starmer now get something back off this legal advisor? It's a fair question to ask with what we've seen recently with the freebies. The second point that he makes is that Keir Starmer is already in talks with the EU that anybody under the age of 30 would get free movement from the EU into the UK. And obviously that means it's not just EU nationalists, it's people from anywhere of the world, because anybody can walk into the EU nations. Something that if Keir Starmer had announced at the general election, he would have had absolutely no chance of getting elected, because he would be totally doing a U-turn on Brexit. If you're not going to have free movement of people, you might as well not have Brexit. And the last point that he made, and I think this is a very, very good point, is where was the vote in Parliament for this decision? Keir Starmer is not a president, he's certainly not a king. Decisions like this should be brought to Parliament, be debated and voted on. And there should be some time as well to look at the pros and cons. He's only been Prime Minister for 3 months. It feels to me, I don't think Keir Starmer has a plan, so I don't think this was a plan of his. It feels to me like Keir Starmer gets told by one wing of his party, probably the far left wing, to do something, and he just does it. There's been no democracy involved. I would argue that something like this surely should go to a referendum for everybody in the UK. We're talking about UK territory. Whether you agree with the UK having territory or not, that it took a long time ago, isn't really the point. The point of this is, should the Prime Minister just be able to make this decision? And I would argue absolutely no. And it's the same argument that we see from the far left, that we should pay compensation to these countries, that we had territory in the country or we enslaved people, and suddenly now, hundreds and hundreds of years later, we should pay people who had nothing to do with that money. It's ludicrous. Look, we're all against slavery. The UK also did more than any other country to end slavery. But there was horrendous times when we went round and took over half of the world. It was awful times, but we are now a poor country, let's be honest. And us paying money now to other countries wouldn't serve any purpose to what happened hundreds of years ago by making the UK people poorer. And that's something that we've seen Labour MPs, organisations and charities that are involved in argue for a long time. Now, the last point that he raises is about other territories. Will Keir Starmer wake up tomorrow and decide, you know what, we shouldn't have the Falklands anymore? We don't know. We don't seem to know anything on what this guy's going to do. I don't think this guy knows what he's going to do. But please comment and let me know what you think. Do you think this is a disaster? Do you think it's a good decision? And why do you think the Prime Minister has done it? It's very important to try and work out what the guy's up to so we can see it coming in the future. And can I please ask you all to please like, share and especially subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you on the next video.